Do you ever feel like you are transported into another world that is identical to ours, but just a little more surreal than our world is? Or you feel like you are in a time bubble and are teleported to a specific time and location that you are only familiar with through reading? Well, that's how today's film made me feel. Hey everyone, let's review The Secret Agent today, written and directed by Kleber Mendonça Filho, and is the official Brazilian entry for the Best International Feature Film at this year's awards. It takes place in 1977 in Brazil, and we follow a mysterious man who comes into a town in a yellow Volkswagen Beetle. We aren't sure yet who he is or why he is here, but he is our main character. His name is Armando, and he ends up getting embroiled in a political game he wants to escape from so he can live a happy and peaceful life with his son. But someone has marked him for dead and hired some hitmen to take him out. The rest of the story is about whether or not Armando will get out with his young son alive or not. Let me elaborate on what I said at the start of the video. This picture makes me feel like I was warped into Brazil in 1977. And since I wasn't alive during that time, nor have I ever been to that country, I felt like I was in a world that felt very distant from me. The Secret Agent is an espionage film with lots of twists and turns, double dealing, and political intrigue that I am led to believe is in line with the socio-political climate during that time. But I am not well versed in the history of Brazil, so I will say that because of the way Philo designs this story, it doesn't require us to know anything about his history. It could all be fictitious for all we know, and it would still have the same impact with all the spy stuff that is going on in this film. This movie has a brilliant opening sequence where our main character stops at a gas station. There is a dead body just lying there in the parking lot area, and apparently it had been there for days because they tried to steal something. Some cops pull up, and one of them just ignores the body to interrogate this mystery man new to this town. It not only sets up the mood the picture is going for, but it also establishes the way the world is going to be, under an authoritarian regime that isn't concerned with the rules of most people. It's also really funny that the camera keeps going back to the dead body, so while we see the strange strong-arm power contest go on between these two men, you can't help but remember there's a dead guy just laying there like 10 feet away from them. A very dark and comedic bit that I love. What a great opening 10 minutes. The film has 3 chapters, and for the next hour after that intro, we are introduced to so many characters, including 2 hitmen, a police chief, people at a record keeper's office, neighbors, relatives, so many people. And at first I was becoming agitated because it felt like the film was just introducing us to all these new characters, but not attaching them to a story that I could latch onto. But then about an hour and 15 minutes in, we get a brilliant recorded interview done between 2 people that masks itself as exposition. And after everything that happens in the second chapter of the story, we now understand who everyone is and what the stakes are. This act may come off as a little too talky for some audience members, at least that's what I heard from one of the people walking out of the theater at my screening. But I found it spellbinding and gripping with the way the exposition is narrated to us, but also shown to us in flashback. I think it's a brilliant way to give us all the information we need about the story and keep it exciting while doing so. There is a running subplot involving a dead shark being found with a severed human leg in its mouth. People keep talking about it and kind of conveying how weird that it is, but then moving on with the rest of the story. This is what I mean with the film having a dark sense of humor, because the culmination of this subplot involves a lady telling a story to someone, and the film just has a slight detour into strange funny land for about 3 minutes or so. And it was hysterical. Just as funny, we meet a cat that has, how can I say this? I'll say more faces than it should have. It was awkward, but in a hilarious way. This picture has a great sense of humor that I vibe with. I have only read one other review for this film, so I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but this film feels like a huge homage to the grindhouse movies of the 70s, but done in a loving and well-acted way like, say, a Tarantino film. In fact, I would say this film is very pulpy like Tarantino films are, just not as in love with its style. When we were introduced to the hitman in the film and a few other characters, I felt like I was watching a loving tribute to films like Jackie Brown, with the way it presents itself oozing with all this stylistic dirt like that film does. I'm not saying that The Secret Agent is ripping off Tarantino, but it is playing in the same sandbox for sure. And I really think this is a rare example of someone who can be Tarantino-like and gets how to make it all work, unlike most people who have tried and failed in the last 30 years. Watching The Secret Agent for me felt like I was at a drive-in during the 1970s and watching independent exploitation films. But this one has a brain, like a very big brain in fact. By the time we get to the third act and we know what all the stakes are, we know every side of the conflict and what everyone's relationship is with each other. Even though there are people we hate in this film, we understand what drives them and why they are at odds with another character. These characters are all fleshed out so deeply, and that's why I don't mind that the film is 2 hours and 40 minutes long. It sounds like a big ask, but it is paced so amazingly that it felt like it was only 2 hours and 10 minutes or so. Now, I'm about to probably tell you that I love this movie, but there is one huge asterisk I need to put on the film before I do, and that is I do not like the last 10 minutes. It seems like it may hit people differently, and some maybe will like it, but I felt it robbed me of a perfect culmination of everything it was building up in the previous 2 hours and 20 minutes. The best way I can describe it without spoiling is there's two ladies who are listening to a recorded interview conversation who pop up a couple of times in the story, and their place in it all is revealed at the very end, and I felt that it didn't need to have this thread in it at all. Because everything that happens before it just sort of stops and leaves me feeling like it doesn't have an ending. This may fix itself on rewatches, but doing this review 2 hours after I saw it, I didn't like the last scene of the film very much. I'm sorry. But other than that, I highly recommend The Secret Agent. It has great cinematography, a wonderful main performance, a film that feels like it was made in 1977, and a perfect blend of music, tension, and edge of your seat political intrigue. I loved about 90% of this film, and I really think most people will like the other 5 as well. The 5% I didn't like is still better than most films I have seen this award season. I'm not going to lie to anyone here. I like this film more than One Battle After Another, which currently is the front runner for Best Picture. I'm sure that is a hot take, but fuck it. I stand by it. As of the time of this video, it seems that It Was Just an Accident is the likely frontrunner in the International Feature Film category. And I do like that picture, but I think this one is better in just about every way. The Secret Agent is a great movie. Go out this weekend and check it out, please. I give The Secret Agent 4 stars out of 4. Even though I don't like the ending, the film was so engaging with everything else that came before it, I'm going to remember all the good stuff and not the one small thing that kind of irked me. A great film. And that is my review. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, please like and subscribe. Here's links to my other videos. Follow me on social media if you like. And until next time, I am Ghost.